You spoke a lot about farmers and preserving farmland, and yet farmers hate the carbon tax. How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, well, first of all, rebating our carbon fee and dividend rebates and recycles those revenues back to individuals. So most individuals, including farmers, actually will end up with more money in their pocket. And also we've created a fund that will help farmers reduce their fossil fuel use, helping them save money in a variety of ways. Here's the bottom line is, we are losing 175 acres of farmland in Ontario each and every day, 5 family farms a week. It is completely unsustainable to continue to lose the land that feeds us. I think the disruption we're seeing in international food supply chains right now, the disruptions we saw in all supply chains, but also food supply chains during the pandemic, highlights the fact that we have to prioritize our own food security, and that means protecting the land that feeds us. And we know that we can address the housing affordability crisis without paving over that land that feeds us.
Jay with Rebel News. You plan to address the housing crisis by building 100,000 new affordable units. So how does this help people trying to buy into the housing market with the record level inflation that we're seeing?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, the Ontario Greens put forward a very comprehensive housing affordability strategy last June that some have called a masterclass plan in delivering the solutions we need. It clamps down on rampant speculation in the housing market because we believe homes should be for people, not speculators. And so putting first-time home buyers on a level playing field, especially if you look at the number of corporations and speculative real estate investment entities that they're having to compete against. Secondly, we're the first party that called for removing exclusionary zoning rules that prevent people from rapidly increasing housing supply and providing more choice through duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, making it easier for people to build laneway housing, tiny homes, secondary suites. We think that's the fastest pathway to building the 1.5 million homes that I know all parties have endorsed, but we actually have policy to back it up. And finally, the third critical component is the federal and provincial governments got out of investing in housing in the mid-1990s, and the crisis has been getting worse ever since then. Obviously, now it's at a breaking point, and a whole generation of people are wondering, one, will they be able to afford to buy a house, and two, even pay rent. And so our commitment to supporting nonprofit and co-ops and other community-based affordable rental homes will help ensure that we provide housing along a continuum. And I want to be clear, the 60,000 permanent supportive housing spaces we've committed to with wraparound mental health, addictions and other supports, quality studies, I'll say, show that for every $10 invested in permanent supportive housing returns $21.72 back to government in reducing other costs, particularly healthcare costs, criminal justice costs, social service costs, etc. And it was one of the reasons I brought that issue up in the health section, because so many doctors now are recognizing the connection between pressure on our healthcare system and the lack of safe, stable housing supply for people.
Mr. Shreiner, thank you for being here tonight. There is a Canadian entrepreneur who has a patent pending on an inexpensive and effective retrofit to utilize on existing vehicles using ammonia fuel. As an environmental party, why haven't you investigated this cheap and safe alternative fuel?
Yeah, I think I know the entrepreneur you're talking about. I've met with him on more than one occasion, and certainly we've talked about the importance and viability of not only ammonia, but also green hydrogen, are two effective technologies that Ontario should be a global leader in, especially as we look at the EU and just this horrific, senseless invasion, Putin's invasion of Ukraine, and how it's disrupted international energy markets. And Ontario is well positioned to supply the European Union both with green hydrogen and ammonia. And those are technologies that we should be developing because they're huge job and prosperity opportunities for the province.
Mr. Ford, why'd you flip, Mr. Ford?
Guys, he's done taking questions.
Mr. Ford, why'd you flip-flop on the vaccine? Why'd you flip-flop on the vaccine passport?
That's right.